What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode number 3 of the Inter Extra podcast. Today, once again, I'm here with my boy Sean. Say what's up.
What's up, guys?
How we doing, bro? How we feeling?
Good, good. I
Yeah,
uh I've got my favorite kit on today, so can't complain really.
I like it. I like the fit. Um, yeah, guys. As always, we're back for another episode. We have a lot to discuss. Obviously, new manager, new staff, Club World Cup, transfer rumors, international break. And we're gonna get right into it. But before, Sean, remind the people real quick where to find us.
Yeah, of course, if you're here watching us, you've found us on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, you can find us there for podcasts. You can find us at Inter Extra on YouTube and Twitter or X. Um, yeah, and just like and share all the content and everything that you see so we can get it out to everybody.
Yeah, spot on. So first and foremost, like I said, is the international break, which is currently going on. A bit of an extended one for some, bit of a shorter one for other teams. Obviously, we have two main competitions that are going on, which is the under 21 Euros and the Gold Cup, which are going to be starting soon. And before that, we had a couple of World Cup qualifiers friendlies. And the first thing is Italy, right? Now, obviously, the Italian national team has a core of Inter players, really. And if we watch the games, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit disappointing, you know? Like, you can tell that not just the Inter players, but the whole Italian squad is tired. Now, I know every big team, like the players are tired, but especially the Italian like national team, you can kind of tell that, especially against Norway, you were like, what is actually going on? Like, tell me if you, because I know you watch the games, right? Tell me what you saw and what your impressions, especially of the Inter players.
If we're gonna focus on the Inter players, what I've been saying for a couple weeks now, and I said it during the game, that none of them should have shown up.
Yeah,
They shouldn't have been called up. Um, I know Acerbi rejected the call, but yeah, the rest of them being called up and being relied upon just a week or less than a week after the Champions League final. I just don't think that they were there emotionally, mentally, physically, just they were out of sorts. And because they're supposed to be leaders, I think it infected the rest of the team. I'm not gonna lie. Um, like Bastoni is supposed to be the presence, the center back presence in
yeah.
that back line. He's the one that's always going to be there, while the others can change. You know, with Buongiorno and Calafiori being out and putting in Coppola or whoever else is supposed to come in and out, that Bastoni is supposed to be a rock, and I don't blame him for not being ready to. So, yeah, and then DiMarco's been on a downward trajectory for months, so
It's
he
sad to
also needs
see. It's
rest.
sad to see, especially like he's one of my favorite players, but Barella just he's completely drained. Like I don't even want to pinpoint anyone in terms of performance wise because everyone, you know, the whole squad, but especially like I say especially also the Inter players, you know, didn't perform. But with Barella, you can see he is tired. That guy, I don't know how many minutes. Someone tweeted it the other day. I saw how many minutes he played. You can't overplay a guy like that. Like he's completely drained. It doesn't make sense to then call him up to yes important World Cup qualifiers, but you could easily play someone else that played just one game a week throughout the season. You know what I mean? Like a Ricci or
Mhm.
whoever, anyone basically, because not barely anyone plays the amount of games that Barella does. You know that's the problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, over the last 4 years, I'm sure there's no one that's played more minutes than him.
yeah,
But in addition to that, there's probably not been anybody that's run more than him.
100%. Yeah,
Like, because he runs all the time. And yeah, Fratesi could have been slotted in there. Tonali could have been slotted in there. He had a year off completely, so
exactly.
those guys could have come in because those guys at 100% is better than what Barella can give at the moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just yeah, let them off. And then Fratesi, he did play a little bit. I don't think he did anything bad or good.
You're just kind of
Just kind of
there. I'm
played
not gonna
his
lie. Yeah,
yeah,
Not really,
And
impressing, but also not really disappointing. He was just kind of there. One guy that did
yeah,
impress though was Petar Sucic with Croatia. I feel like from what I've seen anyway, he had a few good moments. I think he gave an assist. Correct me if I'm wrong, or he scored one of the two. Let me even
I
check
think he
because otherwise
scored.
I'm gonna give you some false information.
I think he scored in the first game, and then in the second game, I actually watched the 5-1 win over the Czech Republic or Czechia, and I was enjoying it the whole time.
Yeah,
It was one of those. He's not a Brozovic player, but it was one of those Brozovic performances where he just made everything work. Like Modric still at 40 years old can still play and have that magic, but Modric couldn't have done what he did without Sucic running around him,
correct.
recycling the ball, breaking lines with passes and taking players on and winning the ball back in front of their defense. It was it was a joy to see, and I think he is a complete
Nice. So
midfielder.
you watched the second game.
I did. I watched the
Okay,
second game, and I think it was a better game than his first one. Just looking at the stats,
nice.
like the way that if we're comparing stats, I think they were probably similar. But I think the second game was just a complete midfield performance.
Okay, so I
And
lied. He didn't score in or assist in either of the games. The first
okay,
match was a 7-0 win against Gibraltar, you're right, and then 5-1 win over Czechia, yeah. So, I lied, but still, yeah, two great performances from, what the stats say, which, don't always trust the stats, but you obviously watched the second game, so that's good. And then Denzel Dumfries scored, which I saw, and he also assisted against Malta, I think. So two big. I think he scored against Finland, and then assisted against Malta, and then
mhm.
De Vrij played as
Yeah,
well, but
good
I'm
for
not sure
him
how
as
much.
well.
Yeah, good for Denzel. He obviously had a great season. Very happy for him.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and I know I tweeted out like it's deserved because he's the one player, or he and Fratesi are the two players that went and apologized to the fans in
exactly,
Munich.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
just yeah.
I massively respect that. So the fact that he's doing well, I'm very happy for him. And then there's not really anything else to talk about in terms of stand-up performances. I know that Taremi scored and assisted a bunch of goals against don't know the first match, but the second match yesterday, I think, against North Korea. So they're basically almost through it anyway, I think. They're basically qualified since like March. So good
Yeah.
for him to, maybe find some confidence. At the end of the day, we can't give up on him as long as he plays for us. So
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like they did qualify. So they
yeah,
topped
okay,
their group.
perfect, perfect. So they're
Yeah.
already in. We're gonna see him at the World Cup next season.
Hmm.
And then yeah, Turan played a little bit, I think. Zielinski is injured, which we're gonna get into later. Zalewski played, Aslani played a lot, I know, but they drew 0-0 against Serbia, and I don't know what the other game was. And then one thing that I do really need to point out, since I was talking about the Gold Cup earlier, is that Tage and Buchanan, they had two friendlies, so Canada had two friendlies, a little friendly tournament to warm up for it. And now in a week's time, I think the Gold Cup starts, and obviously Canada are one of the major teams in it. This is their squad. Tage and Buchanan will be playing, and that means that he won't be at the Club World Cup / return to Inter, because he's focused on the national team, and then his future is probably going to be decided after the Gold Cup, depending on how long they stay in the Gold Cup, obviously. But yeah, I'm gonna try and watch some of it. You're probably gonna watch more of it since you're in North America.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be easy for me because it'll be before I go to sleep.
Yeah,
I can just throw it on while I'm eating dinner or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good decision for him as well. Like whether he stays at Inter or not, I don't think Villarreal is gonna exercise their option for him. Either that or they're gonna wait for the loan to end and try to negotiate a lower price. But
yeah.
he's getting his confidence back. He had an incredible game. Who
The
did they
first game,
play?
the first game was against
Yeah.
Ukraine. I think he got a goal and two
Yes.
assists. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, he did.
incredible.
He had a great game. And I don't think that he would have played much at the Club World Cup. And so He just needs minutes and he needs confidence. And
Yeah.
anytime he can be in front of the camera and performing well, and I think Canada is going to do well in the Gold Cup. So
Yep.
yeah, leave him there, let him showcase what he can do, and either way, there will be eyes on him.
Yep. I just pulled it up. They're playing against Honduras, against Curacao, and El Salvador in their group, which is obviously doable, more than doable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm actually that's the only player I'm actually happy we didn't call back for the Club World Cup because we have Luis Enrique, who I want to see, and so Damian and Dumfries don't get ran into the ground because we have Luis Enrique. He's going to play. I would expect so, and I would hope so. The majority of the games because we want to get an impression of what he can do. And then apart from that, which is obviously related to Euro 21 under 21, it's going to be Luka Topalovic who is going to be playing for Slovenia. They start tomorrow, I believe. And
Yeah,
also,
the very first games were today, so if they didn't play
yes,
today,
they're playing
then it's
tomorrow for
tomorrow.
sure, yeah. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, Giovanni Fabian is playing right now. Italy are currently still 1-0 up against Romania under 21. And obviously, we had the option to bring him back for 12 million in the transfer window that closed yesterday from June 1st to June 10th. We didn't. So, therefore, Fabian isn't going to play at the Club World Cup either. Neither is Topalovic, which I would have preferred to see him. Fabian, I'm not too sure because obviously we still have time in the summer transfer window to decide on him. But I say 12 million, you can't go wrong. And in my opinion, like it was probably smarter for him to play the under 21 Euros because that's a chance that you probably won't get again.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be his last chance because they don't play it again for another 2 years, I think. So
Yeah.
it's he's going to be out of the he's going to be too old for it the next time. Yeah, and he that 12 million buyback I think extends until July 10th. So we have until July 10th, I believe, is the day. There's a deadline
Something like that, yeah.
in the transfer window
Yeah.
for that. So we should do that because then we can use, if we don't want to keep him, we can use him as a counterpart in some deal.
100%,
And
yeah.
even if you take him for 12 and on the books put him as 15 million valuation for whatever swap deal we do, you're still making a little bit of capital off that. So
Yeah.
you couldn't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Based on, the kind of like almost clutch gene that he's developed over the past 2 seasons against or for Bologna, I would argue that he's worth slightly over 12 mil, so the buyback option is a
Yeah.
decent option for now. And yeah, I don't know about Topalovic though. I would have loved to see Topalovic at the Club World Cup. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it last week. I think we were the guys that we would like to see at the Club World Cup, but it looks like didn't Topalovic his first year at Inter in the Primavera was this past season?
Mm-hmm.
So he never got to work with Kivu. So that might have played a part into him not coming.
Maybe,
And
yeah,
so
maybe, yeah, because all of the other players, even when if they were younger, Kibu probably had an eye on them because they came from the under 18s. Yeah, you might be right on that. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's the
So
three players to watch out for international break wise, and the only three players that are left in terms of interrelated news. But there's obviously much bigger news. Pretend that you can see my screen right now. We have a new
yeah.
manager.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the reason why I put this on.
I like you. This is
Because
a smart move. You're a smart guy.
yeah. So I had to rep the treble kit. I mean, of course, this is the year after, so this is with all the badges though. So Kivu are one of our treble heroes or triplete hero. Yeah, coming in as manager. I like it. I like it strictly from the mentality standpoint, just
Yeah.
who Kivu is and then what he's meant to the club and how much of an interista he is. I can't complain with that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna leak the notes here. You wrote down Kibu's experience. What do you mean by experience?
Yeah, so that's the red flag, I guess I would say, when it comes to Kivu is now I did say he is an interista, he's an interista through and through, and we mentioned it before he was announced, or it was decided last week that he was going to be the new manager. And we were still discussing, or we were waiting on whether Fabregas was going to be able to leave Como.
Yeah.
But Kivu has been at Inter. He worked with the U14, U15, 17, 18, and Primavera teams. So he's been at Inter for a long time, and he's worked with a lot of these younger players for a long time, and that is a lot of coaching experience. But his managerial experience has only been the 13 senior games at Parma.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think,
We know how that can go. We know how that can
yeah,
go. If you throw a young, not young manager, but in terms of like his managerial career, young in terms
mhm,
of how many professional games has he managed, just into a big position like that. Obviously he's not on the pitch actually kicking ball, but
mhm,
he's got a big responsibility that you need to come to terms with in literally like a matter of days, because he got the call a couple of days ago, and then it was confirmed like
mhm.
over the weekend, and now he has his first match. Okay, it's the Club World Cup, but he has his first match in a week. He needs to somehow apply his principles over the space of a week, and then he has a break after. But you don't really know. You got new players coming in. It's going to be difficult again. So definitely not an easy situation. But I agree with you in terms of the selection, short term, short notice. Kind of, you had to pick someone that you knew was going to accept the call because it's an honor. Kind of like Patrick Vieira, which I was surprised that he didn't accept the call, because I think he would have been the preferred option over Kivu, but I guess he said no from the start, or Genoa said no from the start, and then Vieira was like, "No, I'm fine here as well." And
Yeah,
obviously, yeah, go on.
he his it's there was something, yeah, like Vieira compared to Kivu. I think there was a lot more uncertainty with Vieira, even though he's been senior manager for a longer time. His
Yeah,
record isn't as good,
yeah,
but also the the uncertainty with Kivu, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a bad signing. We can look across Europe of all of the clubs um, and these fresh managers that didn't have any experience before. Like Zidane is the extreme example of a successful story
Xabi Alonso.
of, yes, Xabi Alonso, yeah. And so to that point, they were given some time. I mean,
Yeah,
Zidane had Real Madrid. It's not like he needed um, to work on the technical abilities of the players and developing them at that time, especially that 2017, 2019 Real Madrid, or 2016 to 2018, whenever he was there. But Xabi Alonso was given the time, three
yeah,
years at Leverkusen. And then
absolutely.
there's Arteta. Arteta didn't have any senior managing experience. He was an assistant for Pep, but also a youth coach before taking on the Arsenal job.
Similar situation, I guess.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, um, and so those are like the successful end of this. But then there's also the way that Milan did it right at the beginning of the banter era, which is it's that's I think where a lot of people are thinking. So the people in Zaghi and then some of the other managers that they had at that time where it failed. So it could be good. And I think this team, I think if Kivu I think he will demand respect. I think people are worried about that.
You
But if
think
he
in
can do,
Italy people are quicker to jump on those fresh managers because you mentioned the example of Milan?
probably. I
Yeah.
think that I mean, all of Italy, of course, thinks experience is the most important thing
Well,
in the
yeah, yeah,
footballing world. Yeah. So if you don't have experience, of course, you have no capabilities,
yeah.
is the mindset. And so,
I didn't mean
yeah.
to sound like that, by the way. I didn't mean to like. I know it could have sounded like that in terms of how I said it, but I don't have like a negative expectation towards Kivu, or I think he's a bad choice. I just said
Yeah.
we have to look at the facts, and the facts are, like you said, he's played 13 or managed 13 professional games, and that's it. I'm still happy. I'm still
Mhm.
looking forward to it. Is it the best choice? Probably not, right? Like, if you're dreaming, you get someone like Diego Simeone, you get someone like Jose Mourinho. But obviously, in that situation, you can't really go for those type of managers, obviously, right? Seemingly, that's not
Mhm.
possible. So, from what was possible, this is a good choice, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I was just addressing the things that I've been seeing,
Yeah,
some of the worries people have.
and rightfully so. Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it's all valid concerns, but there's reason to hope, I think.
yeah. And then obviously we know his assistant as of tonight as well. Just
Mm.
came out an hour ago, officially confirmed by the Serbian Football Federation, actually, because he is currently Serbia's manager, Serbia under 21's manager, and he is coming to join as Kivu's assistant manager, which Inter didn't tweet anything about it, or Inter didn't, put it on their website yet.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing that they will tomorrow, which makes this very interesting because now we have two former left backs. As someone said, Marco needs to learn a thing or two, which is a bit of a brave thing to say. But no, it's interesting. What do you make of this decision?
yeah, Alexander Kolarov. I mean, one was more successful than the other, right?
Yeah.
At Inter, just a little bit, but yeah, maybe DiMarco's form can come back with these two as the manager and assistant.
Yeah, maybe the focus is on
No.
that. But no, I'm happy. I'm also looking forward to him. I also think since Kivu has a similar system to Inzaghi, that obviously based on his Primavera experience and stuff as well, that we will stick to a 3-5-2. I think,
Mm,
and that is a big advantage. At least in terms of you don't have to teach or relearn many things. You can kind of stick to the same principles, maybe even take over some of the things that Inzaghi has implemented, because it would be stupid to change some of the good things. And
yeah.
I think Kivu is smart enough to know that, and smart enough to know that the players have the 3-5-2 system, like, kind of like wired in their brain almost. So yeah, I think it's a good way to continue, a good path to continue on.
Yeah, and Kolarov has played in a back four and a back three as well.
Yep.
So, and especially, I think his only experience in the back three was with Conte. So, maybe he has a little bit of that in his mind. And I might be wrong. I'd have to look this up and maybe somebody can correct me. But the, I think Conte had talked about the tactical mind Kolarov had. So,
Yeah.
I think he was praising him at that point, his ability to kind of learn what he was doing quickly, which is why Conte trusted him quickly. So I don't think it's a bad thing. So I think those two will work well together.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they'll have uh, a good bit of experience to bring in. And then one thing that is on a lot of people's minds is if youth players are going to play. Now, I don't think that things are going to change drastically. I think we're going to see a little bit more younger players coming in, maybe a little bit more minutes for the Primavera players. But if people are expecting Pio Esposito and Berenbruch to start every league game, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Like, people are acting like there's going to be a revolution. I think it's going to be like slightly, slowly, like incorporating the youth into playing a bit more than Inzaghi played them, right?
yeah,
At least that's what I
what I
think.
definitely what I definitely saw is the reports that came out talking about wanting to keep those players with the U23 team so that they can be called up for the senior squad.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're going to see more of,
yeah.
which is what I would think is the best move.
We need to remember
So,
that too, that we have a whole new team that needs a
mm,
whole but like new set of players. Okay, they're gonna come from the Primavera, but then who's gonna come into the Primavera? Like, it's gonna be basically 20 more players available, quote unquote, than
mm,
we usually do, because the Primavera until this season they had their own commitment, so you couldn't just bring a Berenbruch without the Primavera squad suffering. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, and we kind of see some of that team taking shape as well. So, would I want Pio to stay at the U23 team? No, because I think he's ready for Serie A. So he would either need a loan or stay with the senior team, which we've
Yeah,
seen a little bit of that. Some of those reports came out today that there's an idea of him staying with the senior squad.
yeah,
Um, but that's what I think will happen. So Kivu's worked with all of these guys or most of these guys before, and with the U23 team, allowing that team to be used as well. Um, I think we're going to see a little bit more of that.
yeah,
And and in emergency situations, I think they'll be trusted more. So Inzaghi just
I think so. Yeah.
would rather change formation than trust. Like when we had
So let's
a
see at centre mid. That's the best
yeah,
example I can come up with.
the only other ones I can think of is playing 4 center backs because we didn't have wing backs anymore. Because
Yeah,
Inzaghi refused to play like a Della More
Koki.
or Koki,
Yeah,
bringing them up and filling in just for 60 minutes one week so that somebody can get rest, but refused to do it. I think we might see more of that as well, which is
hopefully, man. Hopefully.
important.
So
Yeah.
what like one thing that interests me is what the board expects from this season slash what we can expect from this season. What's realistic with a whole new staff, a whole new manager, based on his experience, based on how much we can get out of the season. Because I personally feel like you can't obviously you can't aim for a treble, right? With the new manager. Well, you can always aim, right? But what's realistic is probably trying to focus on not focus on one competition like solely, but maybe put your focus on see how much you can establish yourself on the top at the top, and then probably like try in other competitions, but we need to see how good the squad depth is, kind of thing. So my personal expectation might be different to the expectations from the board, but I think that the Scudetto is doable if we stick to the basics that we already have, and Kivu comes with a breath of fresh air kind of thing. Then he can probably almost not outdo Inzaghi in terms of managerial, knowledge, but maybe just add his touch onto the team that's already here. Do you get what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think, I mean, of course, the management is going to say what they've been saying for the last 5 years, which is we're going to compete across all fronts.
They love saying that,
Uh,
right? They love saying that, but yeah, no, I agree.
but I I don't think that there's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a struggle to make Champions League football,
No,
right?
no,
So really, what it is how well can we start the season,
yeah,
and then you can start to. All right, so maybe we need to get as much as the Champions League out of it as we can because we're just going to sit around third place in the league, or
yeah,
we're in a title challenge and it's okay. We can throw the Coppa Italia and the Supercoppa and focus on the league and see if we can win this while we're still in this title race that we're probably going to be in with Napoli um and who else? I would, you could say Juve, Roma,
yeah.
who else? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
think I think the first 5 to 10 games, like you mentioned, the start is going to be important. I think that's also going to be good for Kivu's confidence, the trust of the fans, the vibe in the stadium. When they play at the Meazza, how is the reaction to the team, to Kivu, and I think that's going to be the main part. Now you mentioned it. Actually, let's talk about PS Sports later. I mentioned the transfer market. Now, obviously, we've had a lot of reports of meetings between Inter and Parma. Now, for obvious reasons, the relationship has been pretty active the past couple of days, and now the clubs have discussed. This was in the last 24 hours, right? So today and yesterday, the clubs discussed various profiles. Now we know who that is. It's about Boni, it's about Bernabe, it's about um
the Lion, Leone,
Leone, thank
Leone.
you. Leone, thank you
Yeah.
so much. That's the who we had our eyes on when he was at Sampdoria, by the way, as a 17-year-old
Hmm.
already. So these are the 3 players that have been discussed, which means that could be some potential first moves, which should be easier now that we have Kibo as the manager and he wants to bring some players with him. He knows the players, it makes sense. And we're gonna go more into detail in terms of potential transfer rumors, probably the upcoming episodes after the Club World Cup, especially because that's when we're gonna focus on the transfer rumors. But it's interesting to see, right, how you know, obviously once Kibo arrives, you kind of knew that this was gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I can't add more than just being excited about those names.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah, I'm
some
glad, Kivu bringing Kivu in is gonna make that work, and I'm glad that they're making moves even with the Club World Cup upcoming. They were still working that relationship and building it with
Yeah.
Parma.
I hope Beppe stays busy, you know. That's the and apparently he has been staying busy because Inter's open talks with Ebenezer Akinsamiro for a 4-year contract renewal. Now, 4 years isn't a short amount of time, which makes me think that we're either trying to sell him for a high price because we think he's going to become a great player, or we just think he's going to become a great player with us. And I have watched this guy. I've even watched him live actually this season. Managed
Ooh,
to watch him live in the when I went to the Olimpico in Rome for the first time. Beautiful stadium, by the way.
okay.
The Coppa Italia round of 16, I think, or quarterfinal against Sampdoria, obviously, because he wasn't on there. Yeah, my brain was lagging for a second. But yeah, so he played like 60,
Yeah.
70 minutes. They lost 4-1, and he had a okay-ish performance. But it was good to see him live. You can definitely tell that he has you know, the kind of Mkhitaryan like running, dribbling style, whatever you want to call that, and good ball carrying. He has a presence on the pitch, and yeah, I'm happy about this. I
Yeah,
don't know about you.
me too. I am. I think he's an interesting, unique player. He loves to have the ball at his feet, from what I've watched as well. And I think he is kind of he loves drifting out to the wings even further, even though he is a midfielder. He kind of fills that true Mezzala description, that
Experience,
half
yeah.
wing. Yeah. So he I like it. And whether he's being renewed to sell, or it's because they want him to get some more experience before joining the senior team. It could also be he's going to join the under 23 team.
That, yeah. Or they could do a Giovanni Fabian type operation where they sell him with a buyback clause that
Mhm.
can be activated in 2 years or something like that, and then he still has two
Yeah.
years left on his contract. So definitely an interesting one, yeah. And then it's time for joy, guys. It's time for joy. At least if you've been on the hate train. Joaquin Correa has joined Botafogo for the Club World Cup as a free agent after terminating his contract with Inter. So that's getting paid off, and he's gone. He's
We
gone,
saved
and
like $20.
and in the same breath, I have to mention Marko Arnautovic confirming his Inter exit. And I just want to say quickly, yesterday we were tweeting about him scoring against San Marino, and people were saying, "Why are you tweeting about him? He's left. He's not. He hasn't. Like he's left Inter." And we were like, "Well, he hasn't officially left, has he?" Today he's officially left. He made a little video on Instagram on his Instagram account. If you want to watch it, he said, "Hello, my dear friends." I'm not going to read all of that, but basically, he's had a good time, ups and downs, and thanking everyone, thanking the fans. Yeah, we are strikerless, or two strikers less right now.
I mean, having the two of them now, Marko Arnautovic had more ups this season than his first season,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
we were kind of strikerless with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like how you're giving him grace because the that one miss against Lazio was pretty bad, right? Like, okay, it's not like 100% thingy, but I think that's what people are gonna remember. Unfortunately, yeah, the whole
Because he
season.
won us some games this year,
Yeah, he's bro.
like two or
Without
three of
him,
them.
we are not competing with Napoli. Let's be honest, right? So we need to remember that as well. But obviously, in the crucial moments is what people remember. To me,
Yeah.
I'm happy that he had a decent season. He had a decent year. Mainly in terms of speaking of 2025, he had a good start to the year. First 3 months, he was very good. So I'm as an Austrian, obviously, I have to be a little bit sad about this decision, but I think that's understandable, hopefully. And yeah,
Uh,
the main part of the fan base is going to be happy. I can
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, he came back and tried to serve, the club that he was at 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out. But no hate for Arnautovic, but yeah, I am happy that he's going. I just because I don't want a 37-year-old striker on the bench. So
All right. Next up, guys, we have to talk about the official Club World Cup squad slash just talk about the Club World Cup in general. Now, I have this big screenshot of which is my face is getting whiter. The big screenshot of the squad, the official squad. Now, I actually wrote down the names based off of the pictures, which we're about to see later. Um, I wrote down the whole squad because there was no official squad announcement, even though it was meant to be yesterday, because the squads got sent in yesterday. However, we have Jan Sommer, Josep Martinez, Rafael Di Gennaro, Alessandro Caligaris, and then we have defenders: De Vrij, Acerbi, Pavard, Augusto Bissek, DeMarco, Damian, Palacios, Receconi, Koki, Alessandro Bastoni, and then we have midfielders: Denzel Dumfries, Zielinski, Sucic, Luis Enrique, two new signings, Fratesi, Çalhanoğlu, Aslani, Mkhitaryan, Barella, Berenbruch, Zalewski. Forwards, we have Thuram, Lautaro, Carboni, De Pieri, the two Espositos, and Mehdi Taremi. Now, yeah, let's walk through it, bro.
A good list. I like that list.
Good
I
list,
mean,
yeah.
there's a couple names that I wish would have stayed home, but that's okay.
I mean, first of all, which you mentioned this to me yesterday because I was unaware of it. This confirms the contract extensions of Acerbi, Damian, and Mkhitaryan, which were hinted at in the financial report a couple of months ago. But this is obviously, they obviously staying until 2026, and definitely in the plans for the Club World Cup, seemingly. Now, the interesting part is players that are missing slash players that are going regardless, because first and foremost, Piotr Zielinski is injured right now. He got injured with the Polish national team, and yet we're still bringing him. And then Jan Bissek and Çalhanoğlu are carrying injuries from the Champions League final, and we're still bringing them, which is first of all good news, but also bad news, because good news is they're not that seriously injured, but bad news is they're still going to play probably, right? So we're going to get them even more tired. But yeah, this is the list. And any names you want to point out yourself?
Yeah, just to the injured players to that point. I hope that they're bringing them just for because they can. You know,
I think
you're
so.
going to the West Coast. Inter at least gets to go to the West Coast and play out there. So
Yeah,
I hope they can enjoy the LA air before their first game next week. And
yeah,
um, maybe they don't play the first couple games, and then if we start going further into the competition, they can start filling in those roles. But I think they need to be around Kivu before they go on vacation for a couple weeks after the Club World Cup. Um,
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think that would be good. It's hard to switch managers when you're not around the team and you come back all of a sudden and it's a new regime. You were gone, some players weren't, and they already know the new manager and you have to learn the new manager. But everyone gets to meet him now and gets to go on this to the Club World Cup with Kivu and the new staff. And then once it's done, vacation and come back.
yeah,
I think it's okay. I wouldn't imagine that they play the first couple games, especially if
yeah.
they're injured.
Well, it's not going to be a long
Um,
vacation because you said vacation. It's not. There's barely any vacation this year. Like, ah,
yeah, I know.
they're gonna be exhausted to the max. But it is what it is. Names I want to point out is the loanees that are returning, which are four of them, which is Valentin Carboni. Very happy to see him fit. It seems like the first training session back is literally like right on the dot that he got fit again, which is great to see. Because I know an ACL injury can be, we've seen it before, can be 6 months, but it can also be like a year. So it's good to see him back. Took him like 8 months, maybe even like less. So it's good to see. And then we
Well,
have
I also like that. Sorry, I like that they're taking their time with that
yeah.
because some players have been rushed back from their ACL injuries. Zaniolo, and
Oh yeah,
um, and
100%.
Scalvini,
Yeah.
those two being rushed back. So I'm glad taking their time.
Yeah, and then we have the Esposito brothers, Sebastiano and Francesco Pio, which as if you know me, if you follow me, you know I have a soft spot for both of them, especially Seba. I can look past his attitude problems, whatever. I think he's one of the best strikers, talents, let alone strikers, or other way around, that Italy has or has had over the past few years, and I think he's being massively undervalued. And I'm very happy that he's going and that he's hopefully He hopefully gets some minutes and manages to prove himself, manages to prove his worth, manages to prove that, him and his brother are very much into material. So they are coming back. And then we have Thomas Palacios as well, which is interesting because he's had a bit of a difficult spell at Monza. But maybe the Club World Cup can help him maybe to, regain his form, maybe find some form on the West Coast. So yeah, that's the loanees. And then do you wanna mention the Primavera players that have joined?
Yeah, so you mentioned them, but just point them out, the 5 of them specifically. And if I butcher these names, excuse me. I am American.
That's okay.
Caligaris, Koki, Receconi, and then Berenbrook and De Pieri. So all 5 of those, I like it. I want to see all 5 of them.
Start them all
Um,
every game.
because I mean, Caligaris, I think, is going to be difficult because he's going to be technically the 4th goalkeeper, and it's not exactly like you can rotate 4 goalkeepers. So he would have to play over Sommer and Di Gennaro, which might be difficult, but the rest of them can get some game time, and I hope to see a lot of De Pieri.
Yeah,
If there's a player that I'm excited for, it would be De Pieri.
yeah. Maybe play him alongside Thuram, maybe alongside Taremi when he's back. I think that's a good idea. Just let him run in the like behind the defenses.
I mean, even
Surprise those teams. Sorry, go on.
even he, Seba, and Pio could all
Ooh.
play in like a trident in that 3-4-2-1 that we saw at the end of
See,
last
now you're getting
season.
me excited because you could literally play Seba and De Pieri like
Underneath.
as like the cams, if you want to call it that, right? Like
Uh-huh.
dropping behind Pio Esposito, yeah, it would be incredible to see. But we'll have to wait and see. Um, I think that's something to you know like check in, like, or kind of understand from the first match day onwards how much those players are actually going to play. I don't know based on this squad how much we can tell because yes, you could have brought more Primavera players, but then the squad would be too big. Maybe I don't know. Um, so I don't really want to read into that too much and overthink it. But we'll have to wait and see. One thing that I do just want to point out again is there's obviously, like we mentioned earlier, no Tajan Buchanan, no Luka Topalovic, no Giovanni Fabian, no Akin Samiro, unfortunately. So he's probably just on holiday. I don't think he's playing with any of the Nigerian national teams either. And then both Stankovic brothers are missing as well. So Filip Stankovic, who is returning from loan because Venezia got relegated, and Alexander Stankovic, who is maybe, we don't know yet, returning from loan um, with Luzern, right? So he was the most requested player to be brought to the Club World Cup to maybe play that Çalhanoğlu role because he had a very promising season, right? I don't think we've really talked about him yet. So that is something that's very surprising to me in terms of players that are missing. That Alexander Stankovic isn't going, and yeah, I'm a bit confused, to be honest. I know he did play with Serbia under 21.
Yeah, that one confuses me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was hoping, but um, maybe they talked and there was some
there's
discussion,
probably a reason,
just
but again,
decided against it.
you I guess we'll find out eventually. And then yeah, the team left this morning. We are recording this as of Wednesday, 11 p.m. Central European time. Team left this morning, including these two guys who have new shirt numbers. Petar Sucic will wear the number 8. Luis Enrique will wear the number 11. Now, obviously, Sucic is taking Arnautovic's number. Enrique is taking no one's number. He's just getting a new
Yeah,
number.
Korea.
Oh yeah, Korea. Thank you. Sorry, I'm a bit slow.
Mhm.
So both players that have left actually straight up replaced them. No time wasted. Like, get them out the door. We have replacements. Don't worry, guys.
Thank goodness, because I wanted to see those numbers and those two having those numbers. And then, yeah, just I know numbers don't matter too much, but having those real numbers with the squad is, yeah, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice to see them.
Yeah, and then as per Sky Sport, we have we'll have the remainder of the players. Luis Enrique, Marotta, Auxilio, and assistant manager Kolarov. Obviously, the remainder of the players that are currently still on international duty will join between Thursday and Friday, which is tomorrow or Friday, right? So literally the next 2
Mhm.
days, which is interesting that they're getting rushed back like straight away because the last games were yesterday, and they already have to rock up to LA like 2 days after. So no rest at all.
Mhm.
I guess it's the same when the international breaks are during the season, but still. So no break for any of those guys. Udo, Lautaro, Aslani, Zalewski, all of those guys, they'll come back the next 2 days. And then this is what I want to look at first. The other numbers that we have, fresh numbers, because all the other numbers were basically confirmed. We know Palacios wears 42, I think. Carboni wears 45. The Primavera players have already had numbers. Esposito wears number 70, which I think he was wearing in the
Empoli.
pre Empoli. Was
I
he wearing
think he was
70?
70 for Empoli.
Some or 90 maybe, I don't remember. Or
It might
99.
have been 90. It
99.
might have been 99, yeah.
99, yeah. And then I think 70 was his number for pre-season last season, or this season I should say.
Mm.
And then Pio Esposito's getting number 94. So there they are. And I tweeted this on my personal account earlier. Pio Esposito is looking wham. He is massive. He is huge, bro. Have you seen, bro?
He's got this incredible build, just his frame. It's gonna be good that it's good that he's a number 9 because he is a big guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna.
He's
I
twice the
think it's
size
gonna
of his
be
brother,
just
bro. Look, bro.
yeah.
And he's the younger brother. Nah, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. But good to see. We have our own Adama Traore. Is amazing.
Mhm.
So there they are boarding the plane. And then this is the final tweet for today. Inter management's idea is to send Pio Esposito on loan to Serie A and return in a year, but the Club World Cup could change this scenario. This is what you mentioned earlier. His injury will keep him out for first matches, but he will be available afterwards. So maybe not really group stage matches, but if we do go into like a quarterfinal, is it quarterfinal? I think it's quarterfinal. No, sorry, round of 16 and then quarterfinal. I think he could be used for 1-2 games. I don't know if he'll start, but maybe like a couple 30-minute cameos. You never know. Maybe even in the third group stage match. You never know, right? Because obviously he left Italy on the 21 camp. So
Yep.
yeah, I hope he impresses enough and gets enough playing time for Kibo to be like, we need to keep this guy.
Yeah, and that could also affect some of how our summer transfer
Yeah,
works, right? So if he impresses now before the regular transfer window opens, um, we might not need 2 attackers, which is what the reports are saying, like Gazzetta and some other reports out of Italy are saying, but we could only need 1
yeah.
to
I don't
replace.
think we need to sign a striker. I feel like he has shown enough with Spezia for me to be like, yeah, or for Kivu to be like, yeah, this is Inter material. At least, obviously not for a permanent starter, but does he provide more than Taremi, than Correa, than Arnautovic? I think he does. Like, you know,
I would agree. I would agree. My only contention to that is, do you want him to get only 1,000 to 1,200 minutes this season, or do you want him to try to get 2,000 minutes on loan at a Serie A club?
that is the
Right?
big thing. Yeah.
That's kind of the positive to that. But then the negative to that is if he goes to a relegation team, it's not like he's playing with these big, like with higher quality players. It's a little bit easier to play with higher quality players. I mean, it just kind of the logic flows in that way. You play with better players, it makes it a little bit easier to showcase your own abilities. So there are pros and cons to him staying and leaving. So whatever they choose, he cannot go back to Serie B.
Oh, he
Whatever he
won't.
does,
No way he does.
right?
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think either way is you can't really make a wrong decision unless he chooses a
Hmm.
wrong team. But as long as
Hmm.
he goes to a decent like Udinese or something like that, I'm all for it. Or Torino, I know they've shown interest. Bologna, I think, have shown interest as well. Couple of teams that he would suit for sure, and I would be more than
Just
happy to keep
has to
him.
play.
But he has to play if he does go. So I'm happy with both decisions either way. Leaning more towards keeping him just because it means that we don't have to go look for a striker. Yeah, I think in terms of covering everything, I think that's everything for this week. Again, we will touch base again next week, and hopefully I don't know, are we going to record it after the first game? Maybe. We'll see how the because the first game is on the 18th, I think, or 19th. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have the
Let me
right time
check.
zone. You have the right time zone.
Yeah, so it's gonna be probably around 2 a.m. on the 18th for you guys.
So that's
3 a.m.
Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do it. We could do it after the first game, just to be a little bit more like, hey guys, here's the first game, and instead of recording it, and then everyone watches it whilst the first game is going on, and everyone's like, oh, this is kind of irrelevant now. So no, but I think we'll do it same time again, just to have be able to look back on that first game, see where the squad is heading during that Club World Cup, and then I think we go from there. Any final words for today?
Yeah, we also have if we record around the same time, we could have an excellent hate watch going at the exact same time.
Ooh.
Because Al Hilal plays Real Madrid.
I like where this
that
is
Wednesday
going.
evening.
This is I'm a professional hate watcher. This is gonna be I don't know if I'm gonna hate watch Inzaghi already. I don't know if it's gone that far, but I like I see where you're going. I see where you're going with this.
If I can, I'm gonna do it. I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to do it, but it's gonna be there. So
yeah. No, it's gonna be interesting. Anyway, I think for now that is going to be the end of episode 3. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Any recommendations, any comments, any opinions about what we have discussed, again, let us know in the comments. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, just, I guess, talk to yourself and we'll act like we can hear it. And then, yeah. Also,
give us 5 stars on
yeah,
Spotify
five stars on Spotify. I don't know what they do on all the platforms. You're the expert here. But I'm looking forward to next episode. Yeah, maybe we'll have our first guest in one of the upcoming episodes. We're obviously always on the lookout. Maybe Thomas might want to hop on for one of the episodes. We'll have to see how we
We're
can.
hoping, guys.
We're forcing him, guys. We're literally trying to drag him through the door right now. But no, we'll see for the next few episodes, and then yeah, I'm excited to get back next week. Like I said, guys, don't forget to, or like Sean said at the start, don't forget to follow, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. And stay locked in on YouTube and on Twitter for all the latest news. And yeah, guys, for now, I'm out. We are out. And we'll see you guys next week. Forza Inter.
Forza Inter.